this is some years later, but in '81, there was a guy that did a little rock and roll museum, Hollywood Rock and Roll Museum. It was on Sunset near QUINN, I think it was. And I heard about it, someone told me about it, my brother probably, and I said, wow, maybe, you know, he'd like to put Paul's head in there for a while. And I think you have that article in this new book. You probably have the article still, maybe. I don't remember his name, but he was a real nice guy. He had a bunch of cool guitars and whatever for his little museum. It wasn't big. But, so we put this up here, and he put a little plaque, you know, description of what it was all about. And so that was short-lived, the museum. And then when I discovered that Hollywood Hangover website a few years back, I was reading all these funny stories about, and they were all kind of like bogus, you know. And then just a few, is kind of a coincidence, maybe something to do with you guys too, but that Vintage LA Facebook site, that's really nice. And the picture that we sent it of Gary, this picture we had taken about 8 years ago over here in the, when this wall was orange. Gary's about 10 years old there. So we sent this in, so there's all this confusion about, on that website, on the Vintage LA, there's like, well, the head looks authentic in the newspaper, but the kid looks more contemporary, so I don't think that's real and all this stuff. And one guy, some rock and roll critic guy, an older critic, said, well, that's obviously been airbrushed, this thing, you know. Like, he could tell from that photo that that's airbrushed.
So here we are with Bob's son, Gary. And Gary, tell us about yourself.
I go to El Camino Real High School. I'm a senior, the same age my dad was when he did this little trick. And I don't know, I love it. I think it's, my friends always get a kick out of it. They always want to hear the story. They like the details.
And a lot of parents know about it too, right? Or remember that, right?
Yeah, a lot of my buddies' parents like it. Like,
or saw it, or knew it.
I've seen it in the house and always get a kick out of it. And yeah, a lot of my friends know about it. Just as word of mouth, it remains an interesting story. I mean,
and you guys all like you love the Beatles like we did pretty much.
Yeah,
right? Their music, you never get tired of any.
Yeah,
of it.
especially because it is a Beatles artifact.
Right. Yeah, it's not one of the groups that you wouldn't really know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, and Gary, you've always grown up with this as long as you've been alive. This has been a part of your life.
Yeah, it's always been in the house as long as that.
And the Beatles have been a part of your life.
Yeah, of course.
I mean,
and your dad's been a part of your
life. I've been a part of his life.
So now, does it, knowing your dad today, does it surprise you that when he was your age, he would do this kind of thing?
Not really.
At first, the three of us decided we would take turns passing around, and it wasn't an issue, big deal. But after it went on for a year or so, I finally said to my friends, you know what, this was my idea, it was on my birthday, it was my car, I know it was your saw, I know you were helping, but I want to keep it, and I'm just gonna, and so it just sort of became permanent at wherever I lived. And I literally, I had moved from my parents, where it was, on a dead wall, and then we used to move around to a little better place in Laurel Canyon, so I probably had 5, 6 different places that this hung on in Laurel Canyon, and there were people in Laurel Canyon, like the Doors, and I mean, I have a whole side stories of that kind of thing, Laurel Canyon stuff, but with you walk into Joni Mitchell's house on Christmas Day because you thought that was the address you were looking for a Christmas party. And I, honest to God, I walk in with my buddy, and there's Joni Mitchell sitting in her, it was evening, and Graham Nash, and 2 or 3 other people, and they're having wine or, snacks, and I said, and they said, that's okay, come on in anyway. And honest to God, these were happening, that happened all the time. Mama Cass used to give my little brother rides up and down, because we lived a few doors down from her house on Woodrow Wilson, so she would give him rides when he was hitchhiking up and down Laurel Canyon. Anyway, there was a lot of those kind of stories. Paul, but getting back to your, you can edit all that stuff. You know. Anyway, Paul was on about 6, 7 different houses in Laurel Canyon while I was kind of going through my 20s. And yeah, mostly through the 20s, my 20s, which was basically the 70s. You know, and then, and one house, only once, it got a little crazy in Laurel Canyon once in a while. And one time I came home and all my albums were gone. And a few cameras, a few things were gone, but this wasn't gone. You know, if I hated to lose like hundreds of albums that were, I mean, God, if I had those today, but they were gone. Camera, Nikon or so were gone, and Paul was still on the wall. I thought, man, at least, you know, you can replace albums. Of course, I never did. So that was a kind of, and then around 82 or 3, I moved out of Laurel Canyon and got down into Studio City and kind of worked our way out this way to just, you know, with kids and stuff. But Paul kind of has been in probably 10 of my houses, because I actually did some fixer-uppers in Studio City, probably 3 or 4 or 5 houses. So each time he'd just go up on some wall, you know. But he's never been outside, and he's always been in a shaded room, you know. And that's the care, you know. Like you saw how dusty it is on top, right?
And here it's like in its own shrine. It's in a corner.
Yeah.
It's and there's a couple like articles, I guess, the framed.
Yeah, sometimes.
It doesn't look like the color shifted very much at all.
I don't think it did
You
at
kept
all.
it inside, yeah.
Well, I don't think it's changed at all. I mean,
That's amazing.
seriously.
It's amazing.
And the little bit of modeling or chipping was there originally.
Well, I think this nail popped out when we cut it off, and it probably was, you know, you could tell there was a nail in here, and some of this little chipping, I think, was just getting it down up the back side of the billboard. I think I remember this happening on the way down, like it chipped it on the way down, and
Right.
basically
Battle scars.
I don't know why this is splattered looking. I don't remember what.
Have you ever had it appraised?
No, all my kids say, you better never sell me, you know, and all this. And Peggy's saying, maybe we should get it insured or something. And I don't know, it's just kind of like I said, Laurel, I mean, Sunset, all that stuff was just like kind of like your playground back then when you grew up there. You know,
Right.
so,
And when you absconded with it, it certainly wasn't with financial remuneration in mind. That was the furthest thing from.
never even entered our mind that we were going to hold it for ransom, right? Or 40 years. I mean, I never even. I don't know. Did I know I was going to have it 45 years later? I don't even. I got to know what made him take the first picture of. That was it, right?
You know, I was like you. I was a kid. I lived a block from the Strip. I was
Right.
growing up there. I had a camera. I was getting into photography, and I saw these cool billboards that looked like all the albums I had at home. So I
Right.
just started
Right.
shooting.
Right.
But the other thing that you'll know this because you lived there is they were there for a month and they were gone.
They were gone.
So I'd tell my friends about it, but they didn't see them. So I started taking pictures and making slideshows. But I didn't think that I'd ever do a book. I just thought it was cool, and I'd have these pictures. And then 40 years later,
Right.
people started saying to me, "You got to do a book because this is like a little piece of history nobody knows about."
And no one did that.
Yeah. Nobody,
And you were the guy that just
yeah.
did it.
Well,
I
you
did
did
that
it
too. Well, but
I
this-
took a picture and you took a picture.
Oh man! But I was I had a Nikon in those days.
Yeah.
I mean, it didn't dawn on me to take pictures of.
No. I mean, you actually physically took the picture.
Right. Good old Paul. you know.
Anyway,
Well,
thanks to you.
Well, it was a big joke,
This-
but we did it as a joke. And
Yeah, but I'd say thanks to you. A really nice little piece of history remains because it wouldn't have otherwise. And for helping us out and for locating the thing and for getting to it, I want to give you a copy of my book.
Beautiful.
This is it.
It's-
You can see Paul's head is there, but inside
Right.
is a picture without the head. So you can-
Dynamite! Isn't that great?